call this meeting to order. This is the Sherborn Select Board meeting of Thursday, May 15th. Could I have the Assistant Town Administrator read the executive session agenda, please?
Good evening. We have two items tonight. Item number one is the discussion with Labor Council regarding collective bargaining strategy for negotiations with the Sherborn Police Association, Mass Coalition of Police Local 158, Police Bargaining Unit, pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, 3 and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus DCAM 449 Mass 444, parentheses 2007. Item number two is strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations with non-bargaining unit employees pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2 for the police lieutenant.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda, executive session agenda, rather? All right, hearing none. Do we usually vote on the executive session agenda? All right. I will, does this need to be a roll call vote?
No, we can just.
Only going into it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, can I get a motion relative to the agenda?
Move
To the executive session.
Move approval of the executive session as read, minutes or agenda as read.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can I get, wow. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'm only used to running on
Zoom version, yep.
And I do declare that the executive session is necessary for the purpose of contract negotiations. Can I get a second on the motion to enter executive session?
Second.
All right, I'll take a roll call vote to enter executive session. Paul?
Are we voting on both, 1 and 2?
Yes.
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Marion?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. Could you stop the recording? Great. Welcome, everybody, to the open session of the Select Board meeting of Thursday, May 15th. We're going to give the Assistant Town Administrator a couple seconds to get back to her seats before she reads for the agenda.
After I read the agenda, the select board can vote to amend or approve the agenda. I don't have a public comment tonight, but there is a public announcement that Diana Hook wants to make regarding Memorial Day events. Items may be taken out of order and topics not anticipated 48 hours in advance may be added. Item number one is the reorganization of the select board. Item number two is recognition of Eric Johnson. At 7:15, there is a continuation of a scheduled Comcast hearing regarding the cable license, renewal of cable television license of Comcast Cable Communications Management LLC, consideration of entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Dover-Sherborn Regional School District and the town of Dover regarding the turf and track replacement project, consideration of appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Keith Callahan as an associate member for a term to expire June 15, 2028. Lisa member for the 1858 Townhouse Sherborn Community Center, Jeremy Ossett will discuss that. Coolidge Crossing, Meadowbrook Crossing, Marion will have a discussion regarding that. Select Board meeting schedule for July through December of 2025. An update on annual committee appointments to take place in June 2025, and I'll speak to that. And the consent agenda is the payroll warrant, draft minutes of March 20th and April 3rd. Select Board reports, Town Administrator updates, Mass EVIP grant award, staffing updates, Brush Hill Cell Tower RFP, and Mount Misery Cell Tower.
Can I suggest a little modification? Which is that we open the hearing and continue the hearing for 15 minutes or so. And let's do some of these other things that are going to take a bit of time, rather than having everybody have to sit through the cable thing, which is all technical and not as interesting as the other,
No more of it?
some other items.
Okay.
No, I think like reorganizing the board
Yeah.
and recognizing Eric Johnson and stuff like that. Those are fun things to do.
Sure.
But going into,
I also want to be mindful of Attorney Solomon's time since he's here on time. So I do want to have the hearing happen near the time that we said it would. But I'm okay with essentially opening it, continuing it, so just so that we'll keep going with the order of the agenda.
yes,
Okay.
that's the proposal.
I don't want to watch the hearing.
Any other amendments to the, well, it's not, wasn't really even an amendment to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda? All right, hearing none. Can I get a motion relative to the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so step one, I think we should open the public hearing regarding the Comcast hearings, cable license hearing regarding the renewal of cable television's license of Comcast Cable Communications Management LLC. Can I get a motion relative to opening the public hearing?
Can I move that we continue the start of the hearing for 15 minutes?
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, all right, all in favor? Aye. All right.
Hang in, Bill, for a little bit, please.
All right, so let's go with item one, reorganization of the select board. I am open to nominations for chair of select board.
I would like to nominate Stephen Tsai as chair of the select board.
Second,
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other nominations? Any former select board members who want to come back on? No, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now I would like to open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I would nominate Marion Neutra.
All right, we have nomination for Marion Neutra,
second,
and it's seconded. Any other nominations? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, congratulations. And now I would like to open the floor for nominations for select board clerk.
I'd like to nominate Dan Sickle as select board clerk.
All right,
second,
moved and seconded. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we
Easy.
are
Thank you.
magically reorganized and sitting in our appropriate
My
seats.
channel calls you.
All right, item number two
I'll get it fixed.
is the recognition of one Eric Johnson, a select board member and chair up till 2 days ago.
Younger already.
So, yeah, obviously, we are here to recognize Eric and all of his many contributions to the town over the past, how many years were you on the select board? 7 years? And how many of those were you chair? 3?
Great.
Including straight through COVID, right? COVID happened when you were chair, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Started share public health.
yeah, that's rough. Obviously, Eric has done a great deal for this town. Grew up here, has served on the planning board, on the land acquisition. Any other committees that you were
It
on?
was a downtown water committee. I don't know if it was an official committee or ad hoc. Something like that.
Yeah. But obviously, Eric has been integral to a lot of the decisions that have been made in town, and of course, his expertise in engineering and sort of municipal government in general has been invaluable. I am truly going to miss it. There was a lot of things that I really had no idea what we were talking about, and my position was just whatever Eric says, I'm going to go with that. And so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do now that you're not there to just tell me how to vote on things. But you deserve your free time and your new bicycle that you'll be getting.
No peeking at,
Before I came here.
Nice.
no peeking at
Do you
your
have
presence.
did you do an unboxing video?
Yeah, I thought I should.
All right,
I
well,
was gonna add one thing, Steve, if I
Yeah.
can, is item 9, we have vacancies on various boards. and
Ooh.
committees. So I'm feeling that we might make him stay until we get to
Yeah.
item 9 on the agenda.
No, I'm gonna listen to the Comcast thing, because that's easy.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to finish my bike.
I guess, Eric, do you have any comments for the public?
Honestly, I feel the same way. To everyone on this board, I've learned so much from each one of you, and just thank you so much for this here and this appreciation. And it's been a great experience. It's definitely bittersweet. There's no question about it. It's bittersweet. You know, I definitely intend on coming back and to at least be involved with Sherborn volunteerism in some way in the near future. It just I had a million reasons why, but no solid reason. It just felt like time, and we'll see what the future holds. And yeah, it's just also continue a little bit of a legacy of my family as well. So it's been great. It really has. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So you've got to
Come on down.
Eric.
The Haggis from the Sherborn Historical Society.
Oh, so nice.
Which,
Should I wrap it like here on camera and everything?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I don't know what's in there.
hope it's exciting.
It's probably bike parts.
keys to the museum. Not museum, history center, sorry, Paul.
Oh, it's the bookends.
Oh,
That's very nice,
it
thank
is?
you. Yeah, 'cause I was
At the
bidding on
auction,
it
I
today,
remember,
absolutely,
yes.
yeah. I got outbid for the clock.
Oh, yeah. Bookends, you need them bookends. You bid on it at the auction.
In the wood, the tree, was the tree?
Yeah, the oak, yeah.
Yeah,
He didn't, but he made one for it.
It's very nice, thank you, I'll send him a note as well, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Can we see the bookend?
Oh, sure.
Wow.
The tree?
Yeah.
It was the tree, the Downs, one of the Downs.
Sycamore.
yeah.
Wow.
It's very nice to go on my shelf as soon as I get home.
That's the same tree that was made into the benches, right?
Yeah.
Just, yeah,
Wow, it was left over.
just make good use
He
of
has
it.
it. Oh, that's-
It dried for 5 years or whatever you tell us it was. It was quite a while,
Was it?
yeah.
Was. Amazing, thank you very much. Thank you, absolutely, thank you each of
And that's
you.
a new pen you can keep.
It's what?
Oh, there was a pen on there, somebody took it.
Oh, no.
One of those
Very
new
well.
pens that he likes so much.
So seriously, I did keep one on me at all time. And just to tell the TV, just, I'd come sign things, and they had like this 20-cent Bic pens that don't work, and it just really got me. And I'm a patient guy. For some reason, that was my trigger. You're signing like this important like intermunicipal agreement or something else, or a union contract, and it's like. So I made them get these gel pens. It's not that hard, right? I keep them in my pocket all the time. Thank you.
We have more if you need.
That's
It's in
okay.
the chair. we do.
Oh,
You can give it back, you're not signing anything anymore, though.
I know.
Oh, he's so serious. Ooh,
I have to look down and avoid my double chin. All right.
Well, we're gonna turn that into a portrait on the wall.
Yeah, there are artists who do that.
Thank you. I don't want to be delayed meeting anymore. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Shouldn't we help him with his chair?
No, he can do it.
Big boy.
He's strong.
Where are you staying?
Strong young man.
Let's see, wow, that only took 10 minutes, so we have 5 minutes to burn. I don't think any of these things is gonna be 5 minutes, is it?
Dawn raising her hand.
I think the regional agreement would be the IMA.
Oh, okay.
At this point, I think it's just housekeeping.
Number
Yeah.
4, okay.
Yeah,
All right, number 4, consideration of entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Dover Sherborn Regional School District and the town of Dover for the turf and track replacement project.
So moved. And in support of it, I would say this is similar to what we have signed every year for quite some time. There's a couple of X's in it that need to be replaced, like in line 6.
Yeah, so I'm
Um,
waiting for Dover. Dover was also meeting tonight and they're having to reschedule. So when I get their dates, and then you also were reorganizing. So there are some changes that I have to make to the final agreement. But once I get Dover's date and Dover's new board member, because they're going to be past their election date, I will forward to the townhouse a final document with the dates correct and the right select board members.
Great. So amend the motion to say move approval subject to the adjustments just described.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous.
you.
So I guess that's it. Thank you, Don.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Don.
If we did that too fast, I can talk another 10 minutes.
We got,
You could probably do the ZBA
boy, we
quickly.
do need 3 more minutes here.
We're just appointing a person to the ZBA.
Okay. Can I,
I looked, he's not online, it doesn't look like.
Okay. All right, let's do the appointment. Item number 5, consideration of appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Keith Callahan as an associate member for a term to expire June 15th, 2028.
so moved?
Second.
Sorry, the motion is to appoint.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, he is appointed. Boy, we really gotta slow it down here. What about the lease amendment? Is that gonna require discussion or?
No, that's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's,
I just a quick question about it.
Sure, yeah.
Just, it's meant to be a 20-year extension,
No, it's meant to be a 2-year.
2 years.
It's a 2-year extension.
so it would extend to from when to when?
So it was, the lease amendment was drafted by town council to be a 2-year extension. It's substituting out a paragraph in section 3 with the new paragraph that moves the expiration year from 2022 to 20, no, 20,
No, the other way around.
2040 to 2042.
So the lease had been to 2040, the 2-year extension goes to
Yeah.
2042. Okay, I just,
It's because the HVAC
yeah,
capital.
no, I
costs.
understand the reason. I just got confused about the,
Yeah.
because it seemed like the 2042 is 20 years from 2022. It seemed like 20 years from the original lease signing.
Yes, because it used to say 2020 was the commencement date.
Okay,
So the commencement date was moved 2 years.
got it.
and then-
Okay, all good. I just misunderstood. I didn't know the history. That's good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Then the,
Yeah, okay.
All right, so we're good on that?
move approval?
All right. we have a
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Well, I need to modify the motion, which is to authorize the town administrator to sign
Okay.
the extension agreement.
Okay, we have an amended motion. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second that,
All
yeah.
right, amended motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7:31, but Mr. Solomon is still off camera, but we can probably wait the 30 seconds or so for him to.
Yeah, Bill, are you there, Bill?
I am, yes, thank
Oh,
you.
all right, excellent, there you
Thank
are.
you.
We didn't want you dozing off.
No, not again.
All right, so it's now been 15 minutes and I cannot believe that we actually got through
Get a lot
3
done.
items in 15 minutes. All right, but now we are in the continuation of this hearing. So Bill, do you want to take it from here?
Sure, yeah, let me, I just did one update on a number here. I just wanted to look at 3, okay, there you go. 37. Yes, good to be before the board again. I know that you've had this license with this had some very minor changes for a while and have gone over it. I'll just do a brief summary. As you know, as is typical of a Comcast license, although not a Verizon license, the license is for 10 years, as you know, the maximum term allowed by Massachusetts state law. And that's in the interest of, I think, both parties, but certainly the town to reach a license that meets its needs, and particularly with respect to PEG, Public Education and Government Access, Community Television. Uh, at the moment, there are, at the end of December, December 31st, there were 387 Comcast subscribers, and that's down from 426 from the year before. A few more Verizon subscribers, but not many more. The support, the important PEG access annual support remains the same as it has been for decades. 5% of the gross annual revenues of the company of Comcast and its affiliates. The 5%, as you know, is the maximum allowed under the Cable Act for a franchise fee, which in Massachusetts is for PEG access operating support. The capital payment is really one of the top few in the Commonwealth, and that represents the fact that Comcast, particularly its government affairs manager, Kathy Maloney, who none's better, a tough advocate for her company, but a fair advocate who also looks at and works with towns to understand their needs. The capital payment isn't but two methodologies. One is a set dollar amount of it's actually $5,800 a year for 10 years, $58,000. And in addition, 0.25% of the company's gross annual revenues. And that 0.25% is paid quarterly, and the annual payment is paid, and then the set payment of 5,800 is paid once a year. The first payment under the license, as updated, will be made in August. PEG access channels. There are now 3 standard definition channels, as you know, public, education, and government. Those channels will be upgraded to a higher level of standard definition called serial digital interface, a better quality picture and sound. And the high definition channel will be provided within 24 months of the effective date, which is, if voted is tonight, is June 1st. Now, after that upgrade of the SD channels and the HD channel, the company will have to wait 18 months before it can reclaim one of the standard definition channels. So you'd be back to 3 channels. Whether or not Comcast does that at that time, we'll see. Hopefully, they let you have it. You have a great cable need for it. Their need is more internet based, but they do have the right after 18 months of giving you those channels to reclaim one of the channels if they so decide. There's a cost to that, which was upgraded from the summary you have from $7,000 to $9,000. That's for cost of encoders. They pick the encoder, they buy it, they maintain it, they replace it. But as negotiations go and Comcast's position goes, it's sought across the Commonwealth to get some payment toward that. There's a cap of $9,000. They have to give a written itemized invoice, and at the present time encoders go for maybe $2,500, $3,000. So it'll likely be less than that. In fact, Comcast believes at the current prices, the cost will be less than $7,000. They use a higher cap now in the Commonwealth, but we agreed because they were so fair to the town that we would increase it to 9,000, but that's the cap, and it will likely be less. The PEG access video origination, as you know, you go live from your townhouse. That signal can go by fiber that was built by Comcast in the last license, under the last license. That fiber goes to the high school. There's some questions about how it's connected at the access studio at the high school, but it's there. And if we've done some had multiple conversations to make sure that the access folks understand that if there needs to be some final wiring at their studio, that would be done. So the signal goes from the townhouse to the high school, and then from there, together with the public channel, which originates at the access studio at the high school, and the educational channel, all three go to the Comcast head end and back to your subscribers. Under the last license, there was some connection with the community house and the elementary school, but those weren't used or needed, so we did not continue that. The there are provisions for the electronic program guide to be used for PEG. Um, if um, uh, if Comcast provides that elsewhere in the Commonwealth, then they have to, at your request, for the first 6 years, come to Sherborn and discuss both the economic and technical feasibility of providing that electronic program guide for the PEG access channels, but also not only the ability to do it, but providing it. And that's important that Doug and I were talking today, because let's say in 3 years or 5 years, as a matter of course, Comcast provides this electronic program guide in their license renewals. If a town were to ask Comcast to do it mid-license, Comcast would likely say, well, your license is up in 5 years. We can talk about it then. With this provision in the license, that and also a side letter that you can speak to them about doing that. And I apologize, it's the Verizon, it's in the license. Here it's in the side letter we provided, so that we do have the ability, based on the side letter, of saying to Comcast, please provide more high definition channels and please provide the electronic program guide. Installation stays the same, and importantly, and this is very important in Sherborn, cable service is or needs to be available to all residents. There are many communities that have density requirements, and there could be new homes that are built, and the density is not great enough to require the extension of the cable system. In Sherborn, cable service is to be available to all residents. That's particularly important in an age where it's not only cable service, but it's internet service. And finally, cable service to public buildings. Um, we don't address it in the license. It's a complicated story, but basically, that's a service that Comcast has provided from the very beginning, 40 plus years, voluntarily. When they came to town, they said, we'd like to be in your public way, and we'll give you cable service other than maybe a few premium channels. That was accepted. That issue has been complicated by some FCC rulings, which gives a company an opportunity to try to get some compensation from that by reducing what they pay. Comcast doesn't do that. They're a good company. I don't believe they will do that. So rather than have the license say that Comcast must do it, we're just going back to the original concept, which the Comcast has offered and does, and for 40 years has provided cable service to your public buildings, to your elementary school, and they will continue to do that as they have, because that's what they want to do to be a good corporate citizen. So as a result, we don't address that in the license any longer. There's a senior citizen discount. It is what it is. Under the Federal Cable Act, you cannot require a senior citizen discount. Most companies do not provide a senior citizen discount. Verizon doesn't provide a discount. Comcast does, and they're continuing their current discount of $2 off of their most commonly subscribed to tier, their financial qualifications. But we've yet again broadened the number, increased the number of financial ways someone can qualify financially for that discount. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I just would say two final things. It's a very strong license. The funding, is incredibly important. Never has community television been more important. It's a real strength of Sherborn, as you're served by the dual access corporation serving two towns. It's post-COVID hybrid meetings, never has been more important. And we couldn't have done this other than as a team. Town Administrator Jeremy, Diane, of course, leading the charge. Doug Ambos, it's always incredibly helpful, great historical knowledge. And Mike Klein, the access director, who was involved throughout. And as I said before, we were kicked off originally, started off, kicked off by Jeff, who was involved in the very first meetings and really helped shape the Verizon license, which then allowed this license to get a really good beginning. And I thank Kathy Maloney of Comcast, as I mentioned. Be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Go ahead.
So first, I want to congratulate you. I see a lot of these licenses in other communities, and you have done very well by Sherborn.
Thank you.
And there are many features here that other places wish they had. Let's put it that way. One of the things that had been important to me back in 2014 and is still here is our ability to have the payments to the town to go directly to our cable provider, rather than having it, as many towns are stuck with, having it go to town meeting. I've sat through town meetings where somebody has decided to take the cable funds and use it for something else, where you get into this big debate. You put in the language there that we can designate the money to go directly and keep it out of town meeting, directly to the provider. And that's something that we want to continue to have here in Sherborn, so that we don't have the problems that other towns have. The service has been relatively good in the community. The post-storm restoration of service sometimes is a little slow. They, I think, take the attitude that let Eversource and Verizon and others do most of the work, but we retain the language that allows Comcast to do their own tree cutting. Doesn't require them to do any tree cutting, but at least they have the option. And I assume if there are enough complaints about why don't we have cable service, that they'll maybe actually do it. But I've never seen them actually take down anything or remove anything, because they do tend to rely on our other providers. But by and large, this is an agreement that I think we can support. We should support. But this is a public hearing, is it not?
It's continuation, yes. That's my understanding.
So we need to let the public speak before I make a motion to approve.
I think we have to, do we have to read this though, don't we?
Yes, yeah, when we get there.
Yeah, okay.
But in the meantime, there may be some people from the public.
Yeah, I'll open the floor for any public comments or questions.
I'm going to make a comment. So Doug Ambos, 47 Lake Street. I'm on the Cable TV Advisory Committee, as well as on the board of the Access Corporation, which has 5 members from Dover and 4 members from Sherborn voting on topics. So a couple things. One, thanks to Bill and Jeff and others, and Jeremy and Diane, for keeping it going. It's been a while, and yeah, we're finally at the gate. Hearing the number of subscribers for Verizon and Comcast declining year after year is an indicator of where it's going in the future. And while the funding that pays for our staff, like Rick, when he's here in a hybrid meeting, Mike and his staff in studio, will be squished, will be crunched by the reduction of the ongoing 5% fee is what that means. And honestly, the capital funds were negotiated really well, but they're not that much to replace robotic cameras and update things. So I just want to set the stage. In the next 10 years, there might need to be other funding to keep access, government meetings recorded. Maybe the technology will catch up and automate it better. I just want to, we're doing great right now. Great that we have a 10-year license with Comcast instead of Verizon's 5-year. But just see the writing on the wall in the next 10, 20 years.
So
Jeremy?
can I just respond a little bit to that?
Sure.
That most of my towns, if you want to listen to a select board meeting, you go to YouTube. You see it on YouTube. You don't go to the cable provider in each of those towns, even though the cable providers do have a archived set of recordings.
Yes. But Paul, the filming of that, when it's not a Zoom download, the recording with live cameras and adding subtitles and so on, that's done by staff and
Yes.
volunteers.
I know. I know.
Jeremy?
Yeah, you talked about the capital. I just want to give some perspective as far as the quarterly revenue that comes in as a result of this license. It's about $45,000 per year from this license that goes towards supporting cable access. It's a similar amount for Verizon. So just to give you context, that would be sort of the replacement. If those went to zero, that would be
That doesn't include the capital, that's the
just
other
the
piece,
annual.
the revenue, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's $45,000 per year. The capital is $58,000 over 10 years. So,
And the 0.25%, yeah.
so
Could you, Bill or Doug, comment on the fact that Comcast doesn't do any of the actual cable physical wire repairs and tree cutting and things like that keep the wires going? Is everybody happy with that? I mean, that Verizon and Eversource do that work and Comcast does not?
Knowledge. Bill, go ahead.
I can just comment a little bit. Paul was right in the sense that in almost nowhere, but few locations, Comcast does not own the poles and does not own the poles in Sherborn. So, and usually poles are owned by the electric company or by the telephone company, Verizon. And so because of that Comcast, does not take the lead or may not even be involved very much, other than the famous double pole issue, which is a concern all across Commonwealth still. But they are responsible for their cables, and I believe they work on their cables unless they have someone they contract with to do that. And they're also under the license have responsibility, directly or indirectly for poles they're on, such that, if they were the cause of something going wrong, or if someone else wasn't addressing it, the license is written in a way, both specifically and by incorporating your regulations and bylaws, that they would be responsible. So it's to a large extent, it's less a town issue unless something comes up, and more an issue between the multiple companies that are on each pole and go across your public ways. So unless something comes up, then they're working it out. But it is important, in public, your highway department, public works department probably does it, is to stay on top of what's happening to the poles in town and above ground, and to monitor that, and to make sure that when notices go out about something that needs to be done, to remember to include both Comcast and Verizon in that notification. So I think it's really more a question of pole ownership that drives a lot of the work, rather than the fact they have cables on the pole. And they have some equipment also that attaches for sending the signal along, and the boxes that they have. But the license is strong with respect to the public works requirements. So that it's in the town's hands to make sure that it monitors the situation. And this license does provide the mechanisms by which you then can regulate the cable company.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, I just wanted to note, Director Clean put a comment in the chat, that tree trimming and removal is 99% Eversource. Verizon also does very little, so Comcast.
Okay.
As the pole owners, they would be more responsible. And also the electric wires tend to be, they're at the top, which more impacted by the trees, but the tree trimming is Eversource Electric has taken
Right.
responsibility
Yeah.
as opposed to the other.
I'm aware of that. So the Comcast wires that go from the road to the house, obviously, those will be either Comcast or Verizon.
Yeah.
That's right.
Eversource has nothing to do with that.
All right, any other public comments? All right, hearing none, I'm closing the public comment section and opening the advisory voting. I mean,
We gotta add a few people to the meeting here.
there we go.
Chair
Select
Johnson,
board.
if I might just, the signature page does have to be updated after your vote and your membership tonight. So Diane, I'm sure will be able to do that for you, but you wouldn't sign this version because it's now no longer up to date. The signature page, just better to update it and sign it with the names printed than cross it out, in my estimation.
Thank you. So opening the select board voting session, entertaining motions relative to,
Well, I think Jeff wants to make the motion.
alrighty.
I don't know who told you that. Okay, proposed motion, cable television renewal license to Comcast Cable Communications Management LLC, license renewal June 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2035, with the recognition and acknowledgement of two Comcast side letters, the placement of Sherborn PEG channels on third party, currently Grace Note, PEG interactive program guide, and additional high definition PEG access channel, and senior citizen discount. I hereby move that the board, as cable television license issuing authority, vote as follows: to grant the subject cable television renewal license with a license renewal term of June 1st, 2025 through May 31st, 2035 to Comcast Cable Communications Management LLC, Comcast, and execute the renewal license agreement. All terms and conditions contained in the renewal license have been agreed to by Comcast. Comcast, by and through its authorized representatives, shall execute this renewal license agreement as set out on the signature page of the renewal license. To recognize and acknowledge the following two side letters from Comcast, signed by Comcast Senior Manager of Government and Regulatory Affairs, Catherine Maloney, and dated June 1st, 2025. Placement of Sherborn PEG channels on third party, currently Grace Note PEG interactive program guide, and additional high definition PEG channels. And item 2, senior citizen discount.
Just as a friendly amendment, that we're approving this license as modified with the changes that
Bill,
had just
yeah, it's just
articulated.
the names of the signature page, I think.
Yes,
but
and those are incorporated into the documents we have.
as I accept the amendment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you all. It's my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Nice job, Bill.
Thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Here too. Kind words.
All right, I believe we are up to
Well,
items.
before you leave, there's some vacancies, isn't there? Are we,
Yes.
are we looking for people to step forward?
It will reach a need in the next 5 years if we negotiate again with Verizon. We're well represented with Sherborn members on the Cable TV Board of Directors. The Cable TV Advisory Committee is really just about the license negotiation.
Okay.
And you have an avenue to feed back any issues to our station director, Mike Klein. So,
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Actually, I think we need to close the hearing, right? So can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now, item 7, Coolidge Crossing / Meadowbrook Crossing. Marion, this one's yours.
Right. The only reason I asked that this be on the agenda was to report to you that the interim Water and Sewer District Commission that you appointed a few meetings ago has met. And all 5 members were there either remotely or in person. And all 4 of the 4 associate members, 3 were actually present. And the meeting simply gave all of these new commissioners an update on where the project stands right now and what the problems are. The chair was voted Andrea Stiller, and Frank Jenkins was voted vice chair. So basically, this is just a report that the interim commission exists, has a meeting. It was a public meeting. It was recorded, everything on the up and up. And I must say, it's a very good group. They have a lot of expertise that's relevant. And when, God willing, we get to the place where we actually have to put the interim commission to work, we look forward to working with these people. They're very good. So.
Quick question, are you finished? Or
Yeah.
will we still use Tom, the attorney that we used in drafting it? Will he still be advising, the interim district commission?
That's the plan.
Yeah, he was.
He's done good,
Yeah,
very
I
well
thought-
so
yeah,
far.
we-
I'd like to continue with
Yeah,
him.
okay.
Mhm.
We might need to make sure we have that in the budget, but I guess it comes out of the legal budget generally.
Mhm.
Tom Mullen, but at some point, it should be coming out of the
Commission, yeah, that's why I raised it, yeah.
the commission.
Right.
We don't have any revenue yet, so,
Once the commission has money,
yeah,
it could come out of the commission.
all right. That's good, thank you.
Tom has already drafted the IMAs that would be with Natick and Framingham, so we do have a base document.
Good.
So how is that progressing?
Quite well, actually, we just received a notice today that they would like to meet again, so things are progressing well with Natick and Framingham as far as negotiating, with the developer and, addressing the mitigation needs from Natick and Framingham.
Right, the glitch, the holdup really is going to be all the state approvals that are necessary from the Water Resource Commission, MWRA, not so much of a problem, but DEP, the whole Environmental Health Impact Report, that has a lot of requirements that were laid out in 2021, they're still there. So the developer has a lot of administrative work to do with the state, and I think the town is going to have to help with that. The Groundwater Protection Committee has been working on getting documents together that will help. And so we'll see. We'll give you updates as it goes, but there's still quite a long way to go because the state requirements are really stringent and mostly just a ton of paperwork and a ton of committee meetings at the state over which we have no scheduling control at all. So we're going to be reaching out to anyone and everyone, including our state reps, that will help move this along. So I think as a town, we've done what we can, basically. As far as, we've got the water district, we've got a district commission, the IMAs are almost finished, and we can sign those IMAs. They'll, of course, be conditional on actually getting state approval for the water itself. But I think we've got everything in place from the town's point of view.
So just as a heads up, the developer that you're working with has been knocking on doors in Sherborn to buy property elsewhere.
So I hear. We have no indication of, what branch or group of Toll Brothers is involved in that. We know who we're working with.
Same guy,
Pardon me?
the same guy
The same guy.
at Toll Brothers, who's the land acquisition guy, is the guy that's making phone calls to other
Okay.
property owners.
Okay. Well, it's neither here nor there, but I think, I don't get the impression that they're trying to slow down Coolidge Crossing for, say, if they were looking to do a bunch of other 40Bs, they might want to slow it down. I don't get that impression at all. On the contrary, they seem to really want to get it done.
Good.
So whatever else they do is,
But we don't have their signature on it.
we don't have a
Agreement with-
developer's agreement.
No.
Neither does Natick nor Framingham. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the discussions that have helped with the IMA and from the IMA will help inform a development agreement as well.
Mhm.
So I think that should be on your agenda, in the near term. I think more pressing is the IMAs, but shortly after that, you should be considering, what should be in and what form the development agreement should be. Which will come from some of the terms that are being set by the requirements of Natick and Framingham.
And presumably that developer agreement would be also contingent on approval from the state to
Oh,
actually
sure,
build.
certainly. And
It could still be
as
done.
you know, the developer is responsible for all the permitting. and
Right.
approvals. They have retained, experts, engineers, consultants, environmental specialists, and a whole team to move forward with that process. So they've shown a commitment to move forward.
Mhm.
They anticipate probably about a year of that permitting effort before they can file for building permits.
I think the way I see it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the town's primary role during this phase of getting the state paperwork in place is to make sure that all the entities at the state that are concerned about affordable housing realize how crucial this is for Sherborn to get water and sewer in order to do affordable housing. And without it, it can't be done. Basically, without the water and sewer approval and MWRI water and sewer approved, we will lose the opportunity to put in 120 units, 127 units of affordable housing in town because the comprehensive permit that was awarded by the Zoning Board of Appeals to the developer is contingent on water and sewer from Natick and Framingham. So without it, basically, the development can't go ahead at all.
Plus, there's one note, because you and I met with them both, is that there's actually two parts of Toll Brothers. There's the rental unit group and the condo/owned units group. So they're actually, I think they use the same attorney, who I think lives in Holliston, by the way, but
Yeah.
it's two, we're going to introduce ourselves to each of the two groups, but they were busy introducing themselves to each other because they had never met each other. And Mary and I had our first meeting with them. You remember that?
Yeah,
I think it was in the
exactly.
police station the first
They
time.
were getting to know each
So
other.
they partnered, those two groups within Toll Brothers, it's a nationwide firm, had collaborated in other states, but never before in Massachusetts. They'd done a joint project that's a rental and owned condo unit complex. Joint.
Well, you should include Jeremy in this because he's very
This
well.
predates Jeremy.
liked.
Oh, Jeremy is totally
Natick.
included.
Yeah.
Jeremy is so included.
The conversation I told you about predates Jeremy.
Okay,
Yeah, the history predates me, but since I've been in this role.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
privy to all
Totally.
the meetings.
Yeah,
We wouldn't be where we are without Jeremy.
No,
Yes.
definitely not.
good.
And just to correct what I said, the 120 unit, or maybe 132 now that they want, unit apartment complex would not be possible without water and sewer.
Yes.
The other part of it would theoretically be possible, Of course, there's still all the local requirements for an age-restricted development that's not a 40B.
Yeah. But
So-
that's 7 affordable units too in
Yeah.
that, so you get the, you think it might be 132 now in the apartment?
Well,
You're thinking about that?
they're hoping to add some
Yeah, they're
apartment.
indicating they might propose.
So that could get us
Yeah.
to 139 or something like that.
With all the relevant codes and-
Yeah, that'd be great.
Mhm.
And it's the MBTA adjacent community part of the location too, right? Being close to the West Natick train station.
Oh, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another piece of housing that's needed that we
Right.
wouldn't be able to do.
Correct.
with- So, yeah.
It's both.
All right, anything else on that?
No, that's it.
All right.
Thank you, Marion.
We'll move on to item number 8, select board meeting schedule from July through December.
I'm liking it until we get to October. I don't know if that was intentional, but the end of September, we go a whole month before the first meeting in October. That seems kind of like a long gap. And I think if we correct that, then we fix another problem because we currently are meeting with turkey dinners for select board on the 27th of November. So
We're also meeting on Halloween.
I know.
Yeah. I suggest that we just disregard this schedule and decide what our schedule is going to be.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, this should come as no surprise since I've said it every single time schedules have come up, and I've said that once I'm chair, we're gonna do it my way. So I would like to go to a consistent either first and third Thursday or second and fourth Thursday of each month. And then as needed, we can, well, every year, we're always either adding special meetings or canceling meetings when there's not a lot of stuff going on, and so we can still do that. But I would like to go to either first and third or second and fourth for every month.
What works best for you?
I think it doesn't matter as long as it's consistent.
The only thing is, that's not what we're doing right now. We're actually
No.
meeting every 2 weeks.
Right, and so
Yeah.
I'm saying that we're gonna change that.
Yeah, no, I heard you. I just want to make sure people understood that
And
that's
that
the,
may actually be a little bit, once you set your schedule, the other committees should follow by
Yeah.
scheduling meetings that are not on the night subcommittees. I think if you went, as Stephen suggested, that those other committees may be more able to do that and avoid the night.
it was a huge problem with the Conservation Commission
Right, yeah.
because
Right.
And doing
we
first,
would never be synchronized
and
because,
doing first and third or second and fourth, as Jeremy is saying, makes it easier for them
Yeah.
to schedule.
Yeah,
around
no,
what
I
we're
understand.
doing.
Yeah. However we do it, we can decide and then Conservation Commission can adapt, or
Right.
we can look at what Concom has been doing for years and adapt to that. I don't really care, but I think
Right.
I really like going to Concom meetings.
Yeah,
And I think, so second and third is the one that runs into Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yes.
Now, obviously, if we go to first and third, that means Concom's schedule will then run into Thanksgiving and Christmas. But
I'd put in a vote for like second and fourth,
second and fourth,
if
Mhm.
that,
and then we
That
can work in special meetings around Thanksgiving and Christmas as needed.
that'd be,
I would agree with that, because Concom has been like, they're first and third right now, I think.
Well,
correct?
now they are sort of looking at our schedule and trying to avoid conflicts.
Oh,
so it'll be,
okay.
that'll be easier for
Everything.
them
It'll be
if
helpful
we,
for them to see
Yeah.
your- Look forward to.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think I do like the idea, if we go to second and fourth, again, I feel like every year as we get near Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, we're always sort of making a decision on the fly anyways, being like, well, how stacked does the agenda look? And, Diane, if you're like, there's not that much, we might just be like, well, let's just cancel that meeting then.
the only thing where it gets weird is around advisory public hearing in March, second and fourth doesn't work well because we were doing some things in early March before the advisory hearing. So I don't think it works well if we're, because if advisory hearing say is on the 18th, we might have only had a meeting a few days before it. So
Yeah.
that can get tricky then.
although advisory hearing isn't set,
No, I know it's
they
not, but
could-
in the spring,
they
we
might be
sometimes need
persuaded
to have a first and third is better because all those other events, whether it's town meeting, or whatever, sort of happen early in the month of the next month. So
Yeah.
We might have to just adapt a little bit.
That might be one of those times where we just say, let's just throw in an
Yeah.
additional meeting and,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, we'll meet
That's
2
the
weeks
only
in a
thing I
row.
can think of.
Well, right now, we're just doing 6 months, and at the end of the 6 months, we could conceivably flip
Yeah,
to
yeah.
some other variation.
So you'd like to
So,
go with the second and
so let's
fourth?
go to second and fourth. I think for now, we'll just say, you know, obviously, we're not gonna meet on Thanksgiving and, on Christmas. I would say, I don't know.
I thought you were offering for us to come over on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Sure, you can. I might not be home.
I did
But you can look at the trees around my house. I would say for now, I wouldn't, well, I don't know. Is it more helpful for everybody to have sort of tentative makeup meetings in your calendar, or is it
Yeah.
easier? Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
All right, so Diane has some suggestions of, well, the 26th is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
That, I think, is too close to Thanksgiving. I think people go away
Yeah,
for
people go
Thanksgiving.
away.
Okay.
And when they go away, they leave on Wednesday. They don't go away on Thursday, Thanksgiving morning. They travel before that, so I would suggest that's a week that we actually do it the following week, like the first week in December.
So December 4, so then we would have potentially December 4 and December 11.
That's
I
where
guess
we
it's
went
better
to.
to just have the meeting there penciled in, and if we decide we don't need it, we just don't have it.
Yeah, or
Right.
you could, in December, you could move the 11th to the 18th and the 25th to the,
See, the reason why we went to
January
every
2nd.
2 weeks, because it makes it easier, because you're actually not meeting 24 times a year, you're meeting 26 times a year.
Yeah,
And so all we would do is just eliminate a meeting. So you didn't have to,
yeah, but ultimately, it's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing here, right? We're sort of deciding if we're going to add a couple of meetings,
Yeah.
or we could
I
choose
guess
not
that's
to.
true. Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true.
Really, I mean, it's ultimately, we're gonna meet somewhere between 23 to 27 times per year.
Yeah, yeah.
And the exact number will just depend on how many items there are to discuss.
Yeah,
at
I'm
a given time.
indifferent, so I'll go with
Yeah.
whatever. Fortunately, we're hybrid, so.
So I would say, yeah, I mean, it does make it easier because
Yeah.
even if I'm not home, as
Yeah.
long as I've got an internet connection,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can still have a meeting. So why don't we do December 4th as a tentative quote unquote makeup meeting for Thanksgiving Day? And then, let's see. Yeah, Christmas also is like the proposal, I mean, that entire week could be tough. What were you proposing actually, Diane? Monday, the 22nd?
That's the 22nd was Monday, yeah,
Yeah.
December 22nd.
I can't do Monday meetings. I have
Okay.
another Board of Selectmen I have to go to.
Tuesday's tough for me because I work in Boston on Tuesdays.
And I have Selectmen meetings every Tuesday.
Yeah, the whole,
Do you want to keep the December 4th and December 11th?
yeah,
We
let's,
made that suggestion.
yeah, we'll keep December 4th and December 11th.
Okay, and then
What
just
about-
one meeting in November, the 13th?
What about January 2nd? For December 25th?
No, Friday's tough for me because I work in Boston on Fridays. Let's see. So it seems like Thursday is really the only day of the week that generally works for everybody, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
So we're always looking at Thursdays.
that's why I'm
And-
saying why not the following week in January 2nd?
Because that's a Friday, I can't do Friday.
Oh, January 1st.
I mean, I'm not doing anything on January 1st, but
No, 7 days plus 25, and this 30 days in December, or 31.
there's 31, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the calendar right here.
Oh, okay.
If we claimed the first and third Thursdays. Do you think it would be easier for Concom to move their meeting around?
No, I mean, I think
Or
it's,
harder?
that's the thing, is that it's harder for them to move there because
Yeah,
they're constantly having hearings. They have
that's right,
posted
it's all
hearings,
hearings, that's
right?
right.
So it's,
Yeah,
once it's set, it's set.
yeah.
So we have more agility. I think that's, to me, that's part of the reason why it makes more sense for us to be able to move our meetings around.
I agree.
So, I mean, honestly, I would say so currently our last meeting of the year would be December 11th, is that right?
Could,
What about December
yeah,
18th?
could do the 18th and just, it's 3 weeks in a row, but if there's business to do, just
Yeah.
get it done.
All right, let's do
You
that.
want me to tentatively just schedule the
Yes,
18th too?
yeah, tentatively, we'll just do 3 in a
4th,
row.
11th, and 18th.
Yeah.
Okay,
And-
that'd be good.
Hopefully, we won't actually need all 3 of them, but
Right.
I do feel like a lot of times there's a lot of this, we should get this settled before the new year.
And that leaves October 30th, which is Halloween.
Well, Halloween's the 31st.
Yeah, so we thought.
That's 30th is mischief night. So if you're gonna be out toilet paper anyway, I don't wanna get into
That's
your,
what I was
I don't wanna,
planning to do.
I don't wanna,
He knows
wanna
where
cramp your
we're,
style.
he knows we won't be at home also when he's here.
Yeah, and he knows where we
So do you
live.
want to keep the 30th?
Yeah,
30th is
that's
fine. And then the August and September would switch because those are currently 1st and 3rd, right? The dates here.
And July would be the 17th.
I'm gonna wait till she sends me a new schedule.
I mean,
I think
Yeah, you just recirculate a new,
July is, I think, the
I'll
2nd
update
and
it the
4th.
first Thursday.
I'm not
I'll
gonna
update the
mess
whole
up the
schedule and get it back out to
Oh,
everybody.
July is the second.
Yeah.
July is the 2nd and 4th. It's August and September that are the 1st
Yeah.
and 3rd.
Okay.
And I guess just for our planning purposes, just, not necessarily have to decide now, but whether it would be virtual or hybrid or whatnot, just so we reserve a room.
I would say the default is gonna be this hybrid, but in some scenarios, like near the holidays, we might end up just going full virtual.
Yeah,
But
We'll reserve the room then.
Yeah.
For all of these dates.
yeah, but we just need to make the decision before the agenda has to be
Gets
posted.
posted,
right?
yes.
Okay, yeah.
So one of the things I like about the hybrid meetings is it records it. And now we have a new bylaw that talks about the need to record. And it's very convenient to have the hybrid meetings because we're all being recorded automatically. And it's easy for the cable people because they don't have to have an employee come here and film
no, I
us.
miss Rick.
Well,
Rick
there's
Terrera.
that. So I
But
think,
they're the same, the virtual ones are
Yeah, the
recorded
virtual
the
ones
same
are
way,
recorded
there's
as
no
well.
difference though.
yes, no,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
a situation where we're not doing
right.
electronically at all.
Well, it helps for the people doing the minutes, because then they can listen to
Yeah.
it, like if you miss something in the record, you can,
Yeah, no, I think all of our
Yeah.
meetings should have the virtual option. So it's just a matter of, is it virtual only or is it hybrid?
yeah, I agree.
Okay. That's the meeting schedule. Item 9, update on annual committee appointments. Diane.
As you can see, I gave you a copy of the press release that's going to be in the newspaper listing, it actually gives the committee size, the term, the seats that are available for appointments, and the seats that are currently filled by the incumbents. I must say that I've received a lot of applications for people to be reappointed already. I must have at least 20, 25 applications waiting to come forward in June, and some new appointments that I want to come forward to, which is,
If I may though, Stephen, there's 4 boards I think we need to focus on.
Okay.
The first one, the Board of Assessors, has 1 person on a 3-person board.
no, that's currently, no, that's
No.
It
currently
says
filled.
seats available for appointment, those are vacancies, aren't they?
No, right now, we just
appointed
them, you
those.
know?
Oh, so these, I thought these are seats that are available.
This has, I think, an April 24th date on it.
Yeah,
so
that's
this
why
is
I
a
have-
little-
I have
this
to
must be a little
update
out of
Oh,
date.
we need
Right.
it updated then, yeah.
Because was it the last meeting or 2 meetings
is that
ago?
newer?
when we-
No, I think.
No, but
this-
it-
this
We
is
haven't
a little
full-
out
I'm
of
not
date.
understanding what the columns are, you see, the seats are filled like, are those vacant seats? Seats available for appointment, are those vacant seats?
Yes, but it's
So-
not up to date.
But I didn't
Oh.
put the assessors one in.
All
because I
right,
did
but
this
then
in
if you do
April.
the same thing, you go to Disabled Taxation Committee is a 3-person board with 1 person. If you go to the Historic District Commission, it's a 7-person board with 1 person. And if you go to Sherborn Affordable Housing Trust, it's a 5-person board with 2 people. So those were the ones that I felt. The other ones seemed to at least have a decent quorum, like Council on Aging
Well, when
has.
you see that, it's because a lot of the terms end in 2025, and some of the applications I already have in.
All right,
So this
I was just
won't
trying to see
change
if these,
until,
if those
yes.
were the ones that looked like they could have trouble.
If seats available for appointment include just expiring terms.
yes,
And
that's
not
why.
Not vacancies in the
But
traditional sense.
we don't, okay, well,
Because a
so we
lot
don't
of
know
them-
what the
I guess-
vacancies will be.
I
Like,
guess-
you don't know
yeah.
who's stepping down?
Not yet, no, some
I guess
people haven't
depends on
decided.
who applies to be
Exactly.
reappointed, I guess.
This will change dramatically
All right,
in a
okay.
month.
Well, those seem like areas we should,
I'm looking to get
Follow
more
up on
people on
those
the
4
agricultural
boards.
commission.
yeah,
I am struggling to find, and I've spoken to, George Fisk about that, and he's helped me try to, round up some people.
Okay.
You know, given the confusion that this table seems to engender, I wonder if, when you advertise it in the paper, do you need to put the number of seats filled by incumbents?
No, I can
I would
actually
just take that off,
I can actually just list the seats that are, available.
just available seats,
I can just do that,
That's a
absolutely.
good idea.
yeah.
But now, when you say available, are
Well-
we including the ones that currently have an incumbent that expires in June?
Yes,
And
because-
that you don't know whether or not,
Exactly, so
Right.
that's actually
Yeah.
considered.
that's the confusion right
That's
there.
considered an open seat,
Yeah.
because you're not guaranteed to be
Right.
reappointed to that seat.
That's right, so I don't think
Right.
we want to distinguish between whether it's
if you-
incumbent or not.
I suppose you could say seats to be appointed or reappointed. I mean, that may.
but
not
there's
be
some,
helpful,
so
but-
what needs to be there is the ones where we don't have a vacancy. In other words, there's people that are already incumbents that have another year or 2 to go on their term, right?
Yes, but I think that's the last column that says seats filled by incumbent.
Okay.
So that
those-
means an
those are-
incumbent whose term is not about
All
to
right, is that what that
expire.
column is? So then that's an
Yeah.
Like, I'm
important,
not an incumbent until I go for reelection, then I'm an incumbent. Right now, I'm just sitting on the board, I'm not an incumbent. I'm a
yeah,
board member.
but I think we need the last column, we might need to retitle it, is what I'm saying. Those are seats that are not available. Because it's a already appointed person who's not up for reappointment.
Well, let's say the Council on Aging,
Well,
okay,
it's
so
kind of
it's a
a
board
simple
of
math.
5 members. 2 of those members' terms expire in 2025,
Yeah,
2 of them. So that's what that means, does that explain it better?
And then what's the last column then, the 5?
The 5 is the number of people that are filled by the committee.
So currently, there's 7 people on
Yes,
the
it's
council
a-
on aging.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, realistically, if you were to add the last column and second to last columns up, generally speaking, it should add up to
To the
that
7,
middle column.
exactly.
I think, I'm gonna guess the reason why Diane did it this way is because there are some committees that have a variable size,
Mm-hmm.
right? Council on Aging being one where it's 7 to 9. So it wouldn't be clear without that last column that there are currently 7 as opposed to 9.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason.
But I'm not sure it really matters.
I don't think it matters either.
I think it's
I mean, I
just too
could just make a
confusing.
listing of all the committees that, let's face it, we could always use associates. I could put the whole list of all the committees that we have actually in the newspaper.
Yeah, but I think it is useful to have a number that says, here are the number of open seats.
Open seats.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is
So do you
which
want me to
committees
just-
do we have to focus on, in other words? Where there's a staffing shortage, potential staffing shortage.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, so even something like Council on Aging where it says 7 to 9 and seats available for appointment, realistically, that should be 4, right?
Yeah, to get to 9.
Because we
Because they want to
could,
get to 9.
right,
yes.
it's like
Yeah,
Right.
sure,
we're allowed to only have 7, but we can have up to 9.
that's right,
So
that should be
I could
theoretically-
put like 2 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just 4.
Or
Just 4.
just 4, really.
Okay.
So I would
Yeah,
eliminate
nine
that
of
very
them.
last column, seats filled by incumbents.
Just eliminate this column?
Yeah, and I would just say board committee size and then
Seats available. Okay, that sounds better to me.
Yeah,
Well, just the thing about seats available, I know the position of the board, and I supported it, is that incumbency is not a ticket to getting a new,
Reappointment.
Yeah.
getting reappointed. But I've also personally said that I'm going to be inclined to vote for an incumbent as long as they're doing the job and putting in the time. I'm not going to be turning away somebody who's put their heart into something simply because they're an incumbent, and we don't want any more incumbents. So to say it's available, I don't
Yeah,
think reflects
That's,
everybody's position.
I guess
So
you could
could-
say
could-
seats available and then in parentheses includes expiring incumbents.
Yeah, something like
It's
that.
Another way so that would work. Another possibility would be seats available for new appointments or reappointments.
I like Dan's version.
Yeah, new
Okay.
appointments or reappointments.
And then it's pretty clear that
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it covers, I think, similar to what
Yeah,
you
sure.
suggested.
So seats available for appointment or reappointment.
For new
New
appointments,
appointment.
new
For
appointments
new.
or
Or
reappointments.
reappointment.
I don't think we have your problem anymore. We're never gonna have a problem because we don't, of not appointing an incumbent, because we don't have enough people for all lower positions is where I think we are now, unfortunately. We have to take incumbents because we wouldn't get the committee size we need. It's really, no, I think it's a big issue. We're getting fewer and fewer people, you know, we look at a lot of boards and committees. We've eliminated like traffic safety and a few other ones, but
But that's another
Yeah,
thing,
but
the traffic
Diane,
safety.
have you been keeping track of because recently we've had a few scenarios where we've had actually multiple applicants for the limited number of positions, and so
Yeah.
haven't actually appointed everyone.
Mhm.
So I would suggest kind of keeping on those people and seeing if there is another board or
Yeah, that's a
committee
good
that
idea.
interests them.
Yeah.
Well, I usually do that when they call.
Yeah,
I try and talk to them about other appointments that are available on our committees.
Yeah.
We're always trying to get these filled, believe me.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
because the
all
water district, right, I mean, granted, we kind of made everybody an associate member, but some of those people might be interested in being, you know, full members, full
Mhm.
voting members of some other committee.
Correct.
But
So,
the list that we prepared, you prepared of all the committees in town, include committees that no longer exist,
Now, what is that?
like traffic safety.
Well, okay,
well,
that
but
just
that's
got,
gone,
that's gone
eliminated.
now.
But it's,
Right.
it's listed here.
Yeah, but
as-
I'll take it off when I update this whole list.
Wait.
towards the end of
Diane,
June.
it also had treasurer collector on it at the bottom, very last, which I think was just a,
Well, she's appointed. She was appointed. She's
No,
not a
no.
board of a committee, but she was a,
no, yeah.
I can take that off.
No,
if
I
you
get
think
that. I
that's-
was just, if it's boards and committees, it's not a board and
Okay,
committee.
then
That
I'll
was,
take
that was all I
Okay.
was reacting
Different
to.
from appointment of the finance director.
Okay,
So slightly different form of appointment.
I'll remove the traffic safety.
one question I have is, we technically have an insurance advisory committee, which is currently defunct. Do we want to consider reviving it?
Mhm.
So there is a statute that does allow you to change your plan design. And that's what you use your insurance committee for. So let's say you want to change the deductible or the contribution from the town. So communities that, let's say, have 80% paid for by the town and 20% by the employee, if you want to change that to 50-50, for example, you've got to have this insurance committee. So if we are going to undertake a readjustment or reformulation of health insurance townwide as to contribution by members, employees, and payments by the town, that's something that's a big job. And we need to decide upfront. So it's almost worth having a sort of a goal setting, because you did that one year.
Yeah.
Jeff worked hard on putting together all these goals, and we never I don't think we ever voted on all of them.
No, but Jeremy refreshed it. I gave it to Jeremy on his first day with Diane, but it was pretty decent and we implemented many of them.
Yeah, I think you've made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
So if that's going to be our goal for this year, the point I'm trying to make is then we really need to revitalize the tools in the toolbox to do that.
or at least have them in the toolbox in case we need them, yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah.
let me ask a question, because that's something I didn't realize. Do we need to change the title of the committee? I assumed it included all our, like, property and casualty insurance and any of insurance. It's only health insurance?
No, it does,
It includes all the insurance policies the town has.
yes, but remember that not all the insureds are members of the union. They
Yeah.
are going to be this whole class of people who aren't in any organization. They're
Yeah.
just individuals. And so the insurance committee is supposed to be speaking for,
That's fine, but it's on other
Whole group.
types of insurance besides health insurance.
yeah.
Okay.
So Paul, are you suggesting that get added to the list?
No, I'm suggesting we take a step back and look at what our
Think about-
goals are for
think
the
about whether
upcoming year.
Whether or not to do that.
And if people with superior financial information to me, like yourself, Dan, or Steve, or Jeff, because you've been on advisory more recently than I have, if you feel that the economics of the town indicate that we need to change the fundamental insurance arrangements that we have with town employees,
Mhm.
then we need to do some steps. But if you decide, no, everything is fine, everybody's happy, we don't want to make any changes, then there's no need to make work for people that we're not going to follow through with.
Well, I think the reason it came up is because I think one of our asks for the, I probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna mention it.
Okay,
But, so, I mean, I would just say, given what, from an advisory, a recent advisory member, that it would seem like having a fresh look at, it's been a long time since there's been kind of a look at the insurance packages, and having a fresh look at that would strike me as a useful thing to do. I'm not at all sure where that fresh look would take us.
well, we get
But seems
consultants.
like that'd be
We get a
valuable.
report every year from MIA or whoever it is.
Maya, who's our insurance carrier for
We
property.
get rigorous,
Liability and.
input on
Insurance as well. do
changes
give
we
us
could,
reports.
yeah.
Consistently since I've been here, when they bring forward, in particular, the health insurance,
Yeah,
they mentioned that some plan benefit changes could help reduce the premium costs. So Maya has been suggesting that the town consider or discuss some plan changes.
And you
What
need,
those are, I don't know. I think that's where.
you need to be uniform townwide.
yeah.
You can't say that employees in the DPW are gonna have a $10,000 deductible and
No.
people in the.
Yeah, no.
So that
Yeah.
is the challenge with health insurance, is that it is subject to collective bargaining agreements. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
But this allows it all to be done
The
in
mechanism
one.
that Paul's talking about brings it all together in one. It's a public employee committee that is made up of representation from those unions, and you're able to, do one negotiation.
One negotiation with all the unions.
Across the board.
well,
What
it certainly
for me,
would
I mean,
include the teachers.
What might be
That's
helpful for me,
definitely-
if
that's
that's a
handled
goal
by the
of yours,
regional.
to look at the insurance, and I think focusing mostly on
Some.
the health
Yeah.
insurance benefit would be to get some sort of advisory sort of support for me to help bring some information to you,
Yeah,
to then possibly inform your decision to then spin up a piece.
yeah, like Jen Thompson does some of that kind of work, I think, doesn't she?
So the variables would be like the amount of deductibility, if there are any caps on coverage, the contribution rate, like what percentage is paid by the employer and what percentage is paid by the employee.
Co-pays.
They usually have
Wait, so when is
tiers.
the last time that we had an insurance advisory committee that did this work and looked at everything?
We did do it once.
Left West Suburban. When was that?
is it best to have a committee or just hire consultants? And
No, there's a statute that has to be
Oh,
followed.
committee.
I think it's a good question though, actually, because
Collectively
want
negotiate.
people that are
your
qualified.
PDC. And I think before you would vote to start that PDC process, you might want to have some information to see if it's worthwhile.
Right.
So maybe more of an ad hoc sort of group that might help support bringing you some information, whether it's worthwhile to then go more formally.
Well, it's like when you're renewing your automobile insurance, your broker will tell you, your coverage is only 20,000, shouldn't you have 100,000? And by the way, if you agree to a $5,000 deductible, your premium will go down by 50%, and so on and so on. It's just, we can't act on that pretty much.
I know that you're hesitant to look at that benefit, but I have heard from employees, because they pay a share of the premium, that they would like to entertain some plan changes to help minimize their premium, their share.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's multiple reasons why we should get together this group to look at it.
If you make it a town committee, then they're obligated to have public meetings and have it recorded, et cetera. Is that the appropriate kind of venue for this?
But
Or
they can have executive sessions too, if they're considering a term.
Would
Not
it be?
necessarily.
They would have to make approval in open session.
Flexible if it was an ad hoc,
But
group that.
my
the town
concern,
administrator
though,
gathers.
is that we need experts to do this, and so
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
we
Yeah.
would,
It's
it would
not a
be
matter of,
contingent
we do
on
need
finding people in
experts.
town, and I work for the president of Aetna, okay, so it would be contingent on, I would go with a consultant route myself.
I would too, because, if you have a consultant and maybe draw in a couple of people from town who really know
Yeah.
this stuff, that's fine. But
It could
if you
maybe,
form a permanent committee, then it's subject to a lot of open meeting laws that you may not be able to do executive sessions for.
But it doesn't have to be a town committee, right? It could also be an ad hoc advisory group that's put together by the town administrator.
Yeah.
That only reports to the town administrator.
Yeah, when needed, it need not be permanent either.
Yeah, because I don't know that I like the idea of just jumping straight to let's hire a consultant, because I don't think I guess that's the problem, right? Is that we don't even know what we would want the consultant to do yet.
we
Right?
don't need a consultant, we have what he just said, he said his broker, that's what Maya gives
Yeah,
us,
like, I mean, when we
choices,
ask them to
yeah.
give us ideas, they say, well, you should hire
yeah,
a consultant. And
Yeah.
you should seek guidance of your town council.
yeah, but they give us choices,
So
Well, the
they
reason
will give
why,
us choices, but they are gonna defer to our council as
Yeah.
far as how to and what process to use to actually.
yeah, the reason for the reference to council is that we at the MMA fought hard to get this enacted. And as part of that, there is a statute
Yep.
that
Mhm.
lays out what you have to do. And so the advice you'd get from any town council would be, read the statute, follow the statute. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to have the discussion of should the committee be this kind of committee or that kind of committee. Just do what the statute says. It was a very hard job to get the legislature to agree to it because the unions opposed it. And when you have the unions opposing it and you have legislators, but at the end of the day, instead of having to negotiate with each union separately, with the possible result of everybody having a different health insurance plan, you end up with sort of an omnibus negotiation with everybody, all the employees in totality, and you put together a plan that's for everybody.
I guess the question is, we don't even know that now is the time to go through that process, right? Is that
So that's the challenge. So
Right.
to start that process is a formal select board vote, I
Right.
believe.
yeah.
Are you ready for that?
right? So we need more information to begin with to know, are we ready for that?
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm saying, why don't we get together a group of volunteer residents with the expertise to look at where does everything stand, and they can decide, yes, it seems like that is a reasonable process to initiate now. And so then the question becomes, that group of volunteer residents, do we want them to be an official town committee, or do we want them to be an ad hoc advisory group to the town administrator?
Sean has something in the chat.
Yeah, Sean mentioned when the last time the town did this, from his recollection, was like 2015, 2016.
2016, he's
Yeah,
right.
so it's been close to a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it seems reasonable that like probably it's worth revisiting and looking at everything. But it would be good to have a group of, again, hopefully resident insurance experts to actually look at everything and say, yes, this is a good thing to do now, as opposed to jumping straight into the full formal proceedings.
Yeah, my whole concern though is that's why we made, the finance director and the town clerk be appointed rather than elected positions. I'm not sure that we can count on always finding the expertise we need in town residents.
Yeah,
Would it make sense for Jeremy, for you to touch base with town council and then come back with sort of, here's kind of a range of options that the board could pursue to kind of explore, to do the thing that Steve said, of to figure out if it makes sense to proceed or not.
yeah,
And just to lay out some of the options.
Can do.
yeah. In terms of, if you were to decide to put together an ad hoc advisory group, is that something that gets advertised in various places, or is that something that you do kind of word of mouth, try to figure out who
I
would be
think
some
I
people?
would, to keep it more ad hoc, I would do it more word of mouth.
Yeah.
When you start advertising, it becomes more
Right.
formal, or.
So the question becomes, do you,
Be subject to open meeting law.
yeah, so the question then becomes, do you feel like you have a strong enough network in town to be able to identify a group of insurance experts to advise you?
I think I have a strong enough network to ask folks to help me find folks.
Yeah. Excellent.
Starting with these folks.
Yeah.
Well, Matt Collins on the fire department, he was the chief medical officer of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island.
Okay.
He's no longer, he's at Atrius Healthcare now.
Yeah, so maybe you could go sort of in parallel. One, touch base with town council, get your options, but then two, start exploring and seeing if you can identify a group of 3 people that.
And any of us could pass names to Jeremy.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, I do some, but I'm still, I'm more the consultant mode than a council or committee mode, right?
Well,
I think the consulting expertise we get is good. So I'm not convinced we need a board, to be honest with you.
I mean, it might be that a small group would say, we need a consultant.
Yeah, well, we get the consulting advice every year. That's what Jeremy and the team makes the decision on, and
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
the vendor, reports
They
from the
provide-
vendor.
lots of data. My only thing I've been pushing for years is to keep our plans pretty rich, because most municipal employees don't make as much money as you do in private industry. So I feel that the health insurance, but not just for the employee, but for their spouses and their families, is a really important way to retain employees if you're not able to offer quite as competitive as a industry commercial salary. So
This overview would involve health insurance for sure. That's
Yes.
the big one, but everything, town liability and all the other stuff that's mentioned in this Mia letter.
Yeah, there's a lot of other forms of insurance the town carries. There's not as
Right.
much opportunity there for plan changes.
Okay.
Those are sort of market driven and value driven, how much is this property valued at?
You can increase your deduction.
Deductible.
Deductible.
Yeah, you negotiate the deductible. Total cost benefit analysis you can do there for what the deductible might be for those forms of coverage.
Okay.
Next, consent agenda.
you're supposed to move approval. It's just a consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
We got,
Oh, okay. Move approval.
Cue it up.
all right, second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, select board reports.
I actually have 2. I don't know if anyone
All right,
else wants to go first. So last Friday afternoon, oddly enough, James Arena DeRosa and I recorded a video at Dover Sherborn Cable TV. Jeremy helped me. He prepared a table for me on all the regionalization efforts that we're involved in. So I can forward you the link. I don't think it's gone live yet, but
Addie Mae posted it on
oh, did she?
either Facebook or
I
Nextdoor.
haven't
She posted it somewhere with
I
a
haven't
link.
seen it yet myself, but it was Mike Klein and Cam Crandall were the two that videoed us, but it was kind of ad hoc. Jeremy gave me a great table, but I took the role of not only touting all the different things we have where we can, obviously the Holbrook Dispatch Center and all even the start of it was having regional schools, but I said that, it's very hard for towns like Sherborn to hire something that's maybe a 15-hour-a-week person, because then they're unbenefited, and then you have enormous turnover because people come and then they go. And so by having shared veteran service agents and energy and sustainability in other areas, we're giving a benefited position and splitting the costs across the two, or in some cases, I think as veterans is three towns, so we split the cost. So it also allows us to retain talented employees, particularly in committees where it requires like a agent for a conservation commission, where you have to have somewhat strong experience in Wetland Protection Act or Board of Health agent. So anyway, we did that video. I don't know what it is, 20 minutes or something like that. I'm not sure if that good, but we put it together.
Podcast star.
Yeah, about that.
Was that initiated by James?
He and I came. It was my idea,
It was your
actually. It was
idea.
my idea, but
Very
he and I we met at Casey's in Holliston over a Guinness and fish and chips, and developed a script, and then refined it and did it. So
Well, I've heard of talk about an Academy Award.
Yeah. No, but I'm doing something you're going to really like. Okay, there's my next thing. So another thing that's just because we have Memorial Day coming up. We have very few scouts in town. The scout troop is kind of on the border of not having enough. We're now partnered with Dover, which is a good thing. But the Dover's in a different county. We're in Middlesex and Norfolk County, so it's actually a different Boy Scout council. But we're trying to manage fewer young men. We'll take women too, but young youth interested in scouting. So what I'm doing is for the parade, we're going to have Charlie Williams attend again.
Wonderful.
And so what I've done is in the past, I did it 2 years ago, but they did it last year. Frank Hauk, because Diana was at the time was our Veterans Affairs, and he has a convertible. So what I did 2 years ago is I had Mike Kickham, Charlie Williams, and I'm trying to think, what was the veterans agent before Diane? I can't think of his name right now.
Doug Brody.
Doug Brody. I had the three of them ride in the convertible, so they were sort of in the parade. Everyone could see them in the parade. So Frank is going to go pick, Charlie's in a memory care facility in Ashland. He's going to go pick Charlie up, and maybe we'll see if Doug Brody wants to do it too. So we're going to have them be in the parade. So I think it should be a good,
That'll be great.
good
Excellent.
thing.
Yeah, great.
That's it.
Great. Town administrator updates.
Sure, just a handful. The chief's not still on, but I wanted to thank the chief. Actually, the night of town meeting, he applied for a grant for a mass EVP grant for electric vehicles. He filed that the night of town meeting, and about a week later, I heard that we got an award for $7,500 towards that EV, one of the police cruisers. So
Wow.
congratulations to the chief, and really quick turnaround from the Commonwealth for that, which will offset that capital request. Some staffing updates, two actually related to Jeff's discussion about regionalization. We're making an offer to another candidate for our sustainability coordinator. We made an offer. She chose to go a different direction with her career. We'll be making an offer to another candidate. We share that position with Holliston. So that offer will be going out tomorrow. The news of our director of assessing resigning from the town effective this past Tuesday has a silver lining. The town of Holliston is interested in discussing shared resources or staffing to support the Board of Assessors of both communities. So,
Trying to just-
with Austin next week.
They're just trying to reform those towns, right?
Yeah.
Because we
Just
Bringing them back
right?
together.
1674 is when
Yeah.
we split, right?
Bring it back together.
Well, why don't we pull a Greenland here and buy all
We could just invade and take it.
And we'll call our water supply the Pond of Mexico.
So we'll see. So that they're Austin, actually, it was an idea that, we jointly, thought was a good one. So we'll
Do
investigate
they have an
that more.
assessor in-house?
They do. They have a director of assessing, which you just so happen to appoint on your board of assessing.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's very
Oh.
So if that were to work out, we need to
perfect.
work out your board of assessors, but, we'll see. We'll see. We can work something out that supports both communities and is efficient, providing the services that you need. To work out.
Yeah,
Be good.
great. I would say keep the lines open, because there was the other candidate for the board was very experienced. Just keep lines of communication open with that person.
There seemed to be a lot of interest for your board of assessor. That was good. One more staffing update. The Board of Health issued an offer letter to a candidate for their Board of Health administrator. So we hope to hear, the Board of Health hopes to hear within the week whether that person accepts. Update on the RFP that was issued. We've received proposals back as well for the Brush Hill Cell Tower. That 20-year lease term ends in June, so we went out for a public RFP. The due date for those RFPs was last week. We received one application back, one proposal, but that's all it takes. It's a proposal from the current tenant. They're looking for another 20-year term, according to the RFP. Their price proposal is competitive and it is better than the current terms. So that's all favorable.
All right,
So
well done.
yeah, so that's good. They have proposed some modifications to our lease terms that we just need to work through with council. But in general, they seem to be responsive to the RFP and the financial terms are favorable. So good news there.
No billboards.
No billboards. The other update, the other cell tower on Mount Misery, the one off Lake Street, that has several years left on the 20-year term. However, the current tenant there, American Tower, has put forward a request to extend the term for an additional 40 years. 40 years for $10,000, which obviously is not of value, and you're not able to do that. You're capped at a 20-year term. So we've politely declined. But they have also put forward a request to add to that tower, possibly increasing the height of the tower. We're asking for additional information so that we can review that to make sure that it's consistent with, one thing would allow another tenant to be on and add some revenue. However, it's a sensitive location and it has a height restriction that we need to monitor closely. So we're asking for additional information from American Tower to evaluate that impact.
Another note on that tower. I don't know if it's been mentioned to you, but there is concern among people who live near there, and it was brought up at the Town Forest Committee meeting that the plastic pine boughs that are up there are falling down. There's just piles of them on the ground around the tower. And one of the Town Forest Committee associate members, who's an environmentalist, Nick Rodenhouse, he did some research and dug up at least one article published in Science, actually, it was Science Magazine, which is a good paper, about the kind of plastic, the breakdown of those plastic pine boughs. And I think it's worth considering with American Tower, whether we need plastic pine boughs there, or what are they going to do to prevent, the plastic boughs from littering up the forest. People up there, I haven't seen it myself, but people up there say it's like a bunch of plastic debris.
Oh,
It
wow.
looks terrible.
Okay.
Well,
And
it could be PFAS related. I mean, it's
Exactly,
not
right.
like a turf field, but the only thing is, I don't think the tower needs it. It's just for appearance.
and the article that Nick,
Yeah.
yeah,
There was a
And it's fooling nobody.
I'm
Yeah.
aware that came after the RFP was issued and there was a settlement agreement.
Yeah, there was a lawsuit.
I'm not sure, but I think we should rethink where maybe they should just take those pine boughs off.
We have to see if it's in the settlement agreement that requires those things to be there.
Right.
But they should be in good order if they need to be there.
But in good order, what does that mean? These things break down.
Maybe
And
sort of
the
precedent
needles
schedule
fall
they need
off.
to
I mean,
follow.
yeah,
Well, they could certainly remove them from the ground so that they're not leaching into the ground.
exactly. That's number one.
That would be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was very hard to get that tower built. It took
Yeah.
like 3 town meetings. It took
Oh, I
I
remember.
like the
remember.
legislature, and then we got sued by the neighborhood. Then we had to settle that.
Mhm.
And as part of the settlement, we had to do all kinds of concessions. And so as part of that, they wanted a height limit. They didn't want this thing towering over them. And there were other things like these, I believe these artificial, make it look like a pine tree.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking
The
about.
settlement agreement.
Yeah.
And to reopen that settlement agreement now, and going back to all those residents is not something we really want to do.
Well, some of the residents that abut that property were the ones that complained about these pine plastic stuff falling on the ground around the tower. They might reconsider, which would they rather have? Pine boughs on the tower, or some of them being able to somewhat see the tower. Actually,
Why
the
isn't-
tower is not very visible.
Why isn't
Because it's heavily
American Tower
wooded.
maintaining the tower? That's the question I would
That's
ask.
the first question that we need to ask, yeah.
Mhm.
Right, but that's something we should bring to the tower company
I will. No, yeah,
and make
thank
sure
you for-
there's a solution to that.
If we were to consider a lease extension with or without any kind of amendments to the agreement, would that be a public hearing?
I think you need to do a public solicitation. You need to advertise it publicly, just like we did recently for Brush Hill.
You may
You
need
can
to,
unilaterally extend it.
you may need to go to town meeting too. Like we had to do with the 1858 house.
Yeah, if you want to change the term of it, yeah.
If
Town
it's-
meeting set a cap, I don't know, did a 20-year term.
When does the current lease expire, Jeremy, if you recall?
It's like 3 years
Oh,
out.
3 years out, okay.
It's not on the immediate radar, but for the, apparently for American Tower, it's on their planning radar. They'd like to put some more tenants up there. That would be good. The town receives a revenue share from that, as long as it's aesthetically fitting with the settlement agreement. It's a good thing. But it's hard to get them to invest in capital if they don't have a longer term.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Something for future meetings. Is that it?
Just one more, it wasn't on my list, but something to put on your radar, and you may want to, and you probably should invite Town Clerk Jackie to one of your future meetings now that the election is over. There was a printing error on one of the ballots, or one of the election by the printing company. It didn't note that one of the candidates was the caucus nominee. Jackie called the elections divisions of the state to see what that meant, because all the other similar roles said caucus committee, but this one didn't. The elections office of the Commonwealth said that the ballot shouldn't even note that it's a caucus nominee, and that future ballot shouldn't say that. So, ahead of your next election, you should invite Jackie back to your meeting and kind of get an update from her and discuss what you may want to do as a community.
Was there any indication that not saying caucus nominee would have changed the outcome?
No, nothing about the outcome of the election as it turned out. It's more what should what can be legally printed on the ballot.
Right.
So 20 or 30 years ago, this came up and we decided we were going to continue to do what we were doing. And if anybody wanted to sue us, we'll deal with it then. And given the fact that 20 or 30 years have gone by, I don't think we need to worry about this. I think we just let sleeping dogs lie.
I understand, I'm just not sure the town clerk will be comfortable with that after the opinion that she received. So that's why I'm suggesting that they discuss it.
But the next election is November, right? All right, so
No, there are no caucus.
No,
Maybe no,
nominees in
town,
November.
no town.
yeah.
so
these are final and local.
oh yeah, all right. So actually, so a year, every year. Okay.
Jeremy, there is some, is there some scope for if the town wanted to formalize?
My understanding there is that there are some communities that have it more formally incorporated in their charter or their bylaws or what have you, that there's a formal caucus. There's a process that got approved by and how it's run that does make it
There's a statute,
legal to have it on the ballot.
there's a statute, local acceptance statute to create these caucuses. We are operating under that statute. And
Yeah, I like
because-
Paul's idea. I like the idea, let sleepy dogs lie. I mean, as I always say, when you go to town caucus, the Russians could never hack our elections in a million years. They'd be rolling on the floor laughing too much. They
Would
couldn't
be
do
that
anything.
Venezuelan spy satellite
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
beaming down.
Yeah.
Diane, do you know how our agenda is looking for the next meeting?
We have another hearing scheduled for the 29th. We have a dog hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Before us.
Okay.
I got 2 or 3 items on there, nothing really pressing.
Well, if as we get closer to it, it remains that way, maybe we can just have Jackie
Come that way.
come, yeah, because it'll be fresh in her mind since the election just happened.
Okay,
And I feel like discussing it on a light agenda meeting this
would be better.
would be better.
All righty.
So on this dog hearing, the complaining party called me and said nobody had contacted her. And I said
That's not true.
that we're working on setting this up for the 29th.
Yeah.
And it's something will go her way.
It's not true. I talked at length with Luke Tedstone, who's our animal control officer. He's met with her several times.
She said nothing's,
She's been talked to.
And what was that, Jeff?
Well, there's a person who is claiming that
Let's not talk about
Yeah.
it, it's not on
it's
the
not on the
Okay.
agenda,
Yeah,
but
it's not on the agenda.
It-
so.
There will be a formal
yeah,
dog hearing at
Yeah.
an upcoming meeting.
Yeah, that's
That
what
you
I
have
wanted to
a
know.
fair amount of information on. And we've been coordinating with the complaining party and
Yes.
the folks that,
Okay.
the dog owners. And
Yeah.
they'll be fully made aware of when the hearing is scheduled.
Yeah.
We do it posted and notified. So.
Okay,
she's saying the select board didn't get back to her. That's what she's really saying. She wrote to all of us.
yes,
But
so,
the appropriate parties
Yeah.
did get back to her.
We'll make sure that she's aware of the.
Yes,
yeah, if somebody
Thank you,
could
Paul.
call her,
Yes, we will.
Mhm.
Thank you, Paul.
you
please.
can take care.
Mm-hmm.
Move to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay?
My favorite
Is that what I'm
motion.
supposed to do?
No, that's your accepting grants is your favorite
That's-
motion. That's your
true.
second
Yeah.
favorite motion.